Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Jared. Today I'm going to read you one of each. And this dog right here is the main character. But if you look over on the back, there's another character, another animal or person in the book. We'll have to see where she comes in. One of Each by Marianne Hoberman and illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. And the title page, One of Each. Now, before I start, I'm going to tell you there's some old-fashioned words and things in this story. So when I come to it, I'm going to stop and tell you about it so you know what's going on. Now, before I even start this page, it says he lived in a tumble-down house. And that means it's not terrible, it's not falling apart, but it's probably not in the best shape either. All right, let's see about that. Oliver Tulliver lived all alone in a little old tumble-down house of his own. It had one little window and one little door. And one little carpet that covered the floor. It had one little table and one little chair, and one little closet and one little chair. Let me put that up close so you can see it all. There's his little table. He's playing a game called solitaire, which means alone. And one little bedroom and one little bed with one little pillow for under his head, and one little blanket and one little sheet and one little bottle to warm up his feet. A bottle to warm up his feet? That's another one of those old-fashioned words. Back in the day, before they had heating pads and electric blankets and things like that, if people wanted to warm up the foot of their bed, or if they had an achy back and they wanted something warm on it, they would get one of these, a hot water bottle. It was really thick rubber, and they would fill it up with hot water and put a plug in it so it wouldn't leak, and then they would use that to warm their feet or put on their back or their neck, wherever they wanted things to be extra warm. So it sounds like he's set. In the one little kitchen, see that kitchen? In the one little kitchen was one little sink and one little cupboard all shiny and pink. I kind of like that cupboard. And inside the cupboard, one pear and one peach, one plum and one apple, just one of each. They use one a lot. Let's count them in this sentence. One plum and one apple, one pear and one peach, just one. Oh my gosh, we're up to 5 already. Keep that in your head. Just one, only one, simply one of each. We had 5 and then we had 3. 8 times they used that word. That's a lot. There was one little clock that went tick-tock-tick, and one little fireplace built out of brick. There was one little bookcase with one little book. I would need more books. And one little mirror where someone could look. So can you see? And there he is looking in his one little mirror. Now, before we read this one, take a look at the picture. Looking at that picture, how would you predict how Oliver feels about all of this one of everything? What do you think? Let's see if the story tells us. And when Oliver Tulliver looked all around, he smiled with delight, for he liked what he found. It all seemed so fine, every one of each thing, that he felt just as happy and proud as a king. And look at that. He even painted a picture of himself. There it is, as a king. So, did you think Oliver looked like he felt pretty happy with it? You were right, weren't you? And he said to himself, why, how nice it would be if someone could see this, someone besides me. Why, such a collection would certainly teach how lovely it is to have one of each. One house with one kitchen, one plum and one peach. Just one, only one, simply one of each. Okay, well, I wonder what he's going to do about this. So Oliver Tulliver, let me see if I can see all that, carefully dressed in his one little shirt and his one little vest, and his one little trouser. Look at that, an old-fashioned word for pants, trouser, and his one little coat, and his one little tie round his one little throat. Put his one little hat on his one little head. There you go. You can see all of his getting dressed. And then Oliver Tolliver cheerfully said, I shall walk out my door and go straight down the street, and the very first person I happen to meet is the one I will ask to come look and come see. I wonder which person that person will be. Think about it. Who do you think he'll meet first? Hey, he started out walking, and soon someone came, a nice-looking person. He asked her name. She said it was Peggotty, Peggotty Small, and she said she was pleased to come over to call. Well, first of all, look who Peggotty is. Do you remember seeing her already? The book was helping us make a prediction a little bit, wasn't it? Before we even opened it up. And another one of those old-fashioned words. She said she'd be happy to come over to call. Well, back in the days before they even had telephones, when you went to visit someone, you said you were going to call on them. So she said she would be happy to call. She'd be happy to go visit him. He showed her his stove and his one little sink and his one little cupboard all shiny and pink, his chair and his table, his bureau and bed, and his one little pillow for under his head. And each time he showed her a one of each treasure, he looked for some sign of enjoyment or pleasure. So I'm going to hold this up close and you see. Does Peggotty look like she thinks this is a great idea? Make sure there's no glare. Oh, look at her face. And over here. Oh, I don't see her there. Where'd she go? There she is. Does she look like she's enjoying that? But all that she did was repeat the same speech. Just one, only one, simply one of each. Why only one apple? Why only one peach? Why one, simply one, only one of each? Oliver Tolliver tried to explain. He said that the reason was perfectly plain. If everything fit from the roof to the floor, and each thing was perfect, why bother with more? What do you think? Is one of each thing enough if everything fits nice and neat? And Oliver seems to be happy with it. Let's see what he thinks after this. But Peggotty answered, I cannot agree. It may be for you, but it isn't for me. There's one chair to sit in and one plate to eat on, and only one footstool to prop your feet on. One cup and one saucer, one pear and one peach. Oh, dearie, how dreary, with just one of each. What could be the problem with one of each? Let's see. A guest in your one of each house does not fit. It's made for one person, and you, sir, are it. It's perfect for one, sir, if he's on his own. And so, sir, I'll go, sir, and leave you alone. She didn't really feel welcome there. There was no place to sit, no teacup to drink out of. What do you think Oliver's going to do? Let's see. Does he still look happy as a king? I don't know. Let's read and find out. Then Oliver Tolliver looked all about. He looked up and down, and he looked in and out. And he saw that what Peggotty said was quite true. His one of each house was not suited for two. His one of each things never came to an end, yet one thing was missing. He hadn't one friend. What do you think he's going to do about that? You know, that's a very hard thing Oliver did. Sometimes our friends tell us things, and at first we're like, oh, but then we think about it and we realize, oh, maybe we need to change a little bit. Oliver Tolliver raced out the door, And he hurried downtown and he ran into each store. And in each store he entered, he made the same speech. I'd like this one and that one, just one of each. Interesting. He bought this one and that one, and when he was through, he hurried back home, and now each one was two. So, what's more important, do you think? Having your perfect, neat, tidy, organized house, or having things to invite friends over? Something to think about. And when he arranged all his new things to fit, he liked what they looked like, he had to admit. The house was less empty, the kitchen felt new, the table seemed friendlier set up for two. Here, I'm going to show you his house before I read the next page. What do you think? Does it still look a nice, neat, tidy house? Everything in its place? Do you think the table looks friendlier? Let's see what Miss Peggotty thinks. Then when he was finished, he called up Miss P and invited her over for afternoon tea. And when she arrived, she cavorted with glee. And she said with delight, "Why, you did this for me? Why, Oliver, dear, you are truly a peach. With two, really two, always two, two of each." And that word cavorted, take a look at that picture of Miss Peggotty. Let me get the glare off. What do you think? Cavorted? Does it look like she's jumping and dancing around because she's happy? Maybe. They sat at the table. Let me show you. In perfect accord. And they each took a teacup and Peggotty poured. And they each had a cupcake, and when they were done, Oliver knew two was better than one. Jolly and friendly, more cheerful, more fun. Look at that face. How does Oliver feel now? He looks really happy. Maybe not as proud as a king, but he looks happier. I don't know. We'll have to think about that. Then, little by little, new friends came to call, and Oliver found he was fond of them all. Want to see all his new friends? What a pity, he thought, there was not any more cupcakes to offer, more tea he could pour. Then he had an idea as he opened the door, an idea that he'd never thought of before. He sharpened his knife and polished his plate. Take a look. Isn't that clear? Then he went to the cupboard, and in he did reach, and he took out his fruit. There were now two of each. What's he going to do? Let's find out. And he carefully cut them. Is that what you thought he'd do? You're so smart. And he carefully cut them, each plum, peach, and pear, and he passed round the plate so they all had a share. And he found as he nibbled the peach, pear, and plum, that they all tasted better when each one had some. And that even though each person's piece might be small, eating with friends was the best thing of all. And by sharing his pieces of plum, pear, and peach, each one could have one, still have one of each. The end. That was a nice book.